always remember that there are two sides to the coin and it's actually okay. And when we learn to recognize that, when we're in the darkness, we know the light is coming, and we're in the light, we know that there may be some challenges coming. So this too shall pass, believe it, understand it, and just stay in the game.
Well, hello and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and this episode is a very, very special one because this last week we have celebrated International Women's Day. And one of the things that I'm so honored and privileged to be able to do on this podcast is interview incredible people from all over the globe. And some of those incredible people have been leaders in the direct selling industry. Some have been business owners. Some have been fellow speakers. Others have been authors, and all of the above and much, much more. But what has stood out to me are the incredible, incredible women that I have had the honor and privilege of not just meeting and hearing wisdom from as I have recorded these episodes for you over the last 300 episodes and almost 6 years of doing this podcast, but also I can call many of these women very, very dear friends. And so in this episode, I wanted to put something a little bit extra special together because there is a question I always ask my guests at the end of any interview with them. And that question always brings out something very special. I know we get golden nuggets when I ask this question, but I always learn something about this person and often take some incredible wisdom away myself from this question. The question I ask is, what is one thing you would go back and say to your past self? Now, when I originally formulated the questions that I ask in my podcast, and I put my 4 fun questions together, and if you've heard my podcast before, you would have heard me asking these questions of guests at the end of any interview. When I put them together, I thought to myself this would bring out a little bit of a fun vibe at the end of an episode. And while it does that, this particular question actually has shed so much incredible wisdom for all of our listeners. And it's probably the one question I get the most feedback and comments on from people listening to the episode and our guests. And there have been some times where it has brought the guests to tears as well because they really stop and think about what wisdom they would have imparted on themselves if they could go back and whisper that little something in their ear. What I decided to do is put together a podcast episode to celebrate International Women's Day with some of the many incredible women that have joined me on this podcast and their answer to this question. So this is going to be a pretty quick mashup for you, but lean in. Just trust me in this. These people are incredible people that have done amazing things, whether they've built an unbelievable empire or an amazing business, or whether they're people that have written a book that's changed lives. Each and every one of these beautiful humans has impacted my life. They're all very special friends, but they're also people who are impacting the lives of hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people all over the globe every day. So lean in, have some fun listening to this episode. A huge big shout out of love to everyone listening to this, but especially the women this week. I want to celebrate you, and I want to remind you of something very important. Whether you have a huge business or a tiny business, whether you are living the dream and the goals that you're aiming for yet, or whether there's still something that you're steering towards and they feel like maybe they're at a distance right now, I want to remind you that every single day that you get up and you chase those dreams, you are impacting lives whether you see it or not. There's a ripple effect, and sometimes you don't get to see the impact that you get to have, or maybe you don't see it until many years down the track. But let me tell you, the impact you're having is important. It's great. And I want to just encourage you today and say, it's not accidental that you're here, but I am honored and privileged that you are. I appreciate you, and I want to just breathe some courage into you today and say, you are doing amazing. You're incredible. Keep doing what you're doing, and sending you loads of love. So enjoy this episode to celebrate International Women's Day. Well, let's get stuck into this episode. But just before we do, I want to introduce the beautiful women whose clips I've chosen for the purpose of this little mashup here. As I said, this is going to be fairly fast paced, and I ask this question only once at the beginning of the episode and then go through the answers of all of these women across their episodes. So I want to just take a quick moment to introduce them to you so you know who you're hearing from. Like I said, we have the honor and privilege throughout what Greg and I get to do every single day of meeting some unbelievable human beings. And these beautiful people, I could all call dear friends. They've all taught me many things over the years. And I know you're going to love listening to their little piece of wisdom here. But you can also go and check out the full episode of each of these interviews as well. So make sure you do that if you want to jump in and hear more from this particular person. But the very first one we're going to start off with is actually a duo of incredible women. These two beautiful humans have both been on my podcast several times now. But in this particular interview, they showed up together as a bit of a dream team. So this duo is Mary Young and Gaya Samarasingha, both from Young Living Essentials. Mary is the founder of the company along with her husband, Gary Young, and of course, Gaia, who is now the Chief Marketing Officer of Young Living Essentials and also the founder of Kalaia Products. These two beautiful women are making such an incredible impact all around the world, speaking into the lives of women every single day. So I know you're going to love what the two of these had to say, but you can listen to the full episode, of course, and we'll put that in the show notes for you. The next guest is a very special friend of mine who has also been a mentor to me, but this beautiful woman is the CEO of Juice Plus Australia and New Zealand, and that is Celine Egan. She's also been on this podcast several times now, so you've got several podcast episodes to choose from if you want to listen to more from her. Then we've got the amazing Aspen Emry. Now, Aspen Emry is the founder and owner of Bravenly Global, one of the fastest growing direct selling companies in the world right now. And Aspen, in her interview, shared the story of how she went from field to wanting to create something bigger and better for people to be a part of. And so she created the company of her dreams, something she would have wanted to be a part of. And everything about her story is in the name, Bravenly. So I know you're going to love hearing from Aspen, but definitely check out that full episode. It was a really powerful one and an amazing story from her. Then we've got the beautiful Meredith Berkich, who is the CEO of LifeWave, a company that we've had the honor and privilege of working with over the last couple of years. And Meredith is such an unbelievably steady hand in all that she does, but just a woman of knowledge and wisdom. And I know this little snippet from her is going to speak to you just like it spoke to me. We've then got Heidi Leist, who is the owner of Lemongrass Spa, another direct selling company that is doing amazing things and a very heart-led business. Heidi has also become a beautiful friend over the years, and I always love hearing from this wonderful woman. Then we've got Nancy Bogart, the owner and founder of Jordan Essentials, a direct selling company that is US-based again, but also very heart-led. And Nancy is, again, impacting lives every single day, but she is so generous with her knowledge and wisdom in all that she does. We then interviewed Joni Rogers-Kante, who is the owner and founder of Senegence International. Joni's story is a really beautiful one. And she is now doing exactly that. Over the years, she has impacted literally hundreds of thousands of women's lives all over the globe, doing something that she started out. If you listen to the episode, it was titled, It Started With a Kiss. It was such a beautiful story. And it's just the truth that it can all start from something so small. And the impact she's making now, of course, is huge. So definitely a really great one to listen to. The next guest you're going to hear from is Dr. Louise Mahler. Now, Dr. Louise is actually somebody who I met as a fellow speaker in our travels. We both showed up on the same stages several times. And if you're in Australia, you might have actually heard from Dr. Louise through TV shows like Sunrise, etc., where Dr. Louise, who is actually a body language expert, and she speaks into the body language and the facial cues of celebrities and what might actually be going going on behind the scenes, and politicians, of course. But she is such an incredibly wise person because she speaks into how we can communicate not just with our words, but also with the way that we physically show up into a room, with the body language that we use, and how that also speaks mountains. So definitely a great episode to check out if you want to hear the full one from her. And the very last snippet you're going to hear is actually from myself, where I answered my own question. But the main thing I want you to take away from this is just the power of not just these beautiful women, but the power that you hold as well. So grab your pen and paper, because as always, loads of golden nuggets are dropped, and enjoy the episode. If you could go back in time and you could say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
Mary, let things happen naturally. Don't be so impatient that you think it has to happen tomorrow. Do your very best. Never look back. Always go forward with that which you've learned from what you've experienced in the past. Will allow things to happen in their own time. I've always said, and I tell this to my boys, I say this to everyone, learn what you can from the past. The only value the past has is what you can learn from it. And when there's nothing more to be learned, then go forward. Don't live in the past, because it will prevent you from being progressive, from doing the things that you need to do.
I would say stay focused on where you want to go, but trust the process.
Mm.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't kind of get to do or get to start to exactly where we want to. And when I look back at my career, that's how I feel. And but I ended up where I wanted to be, or even better place than I wanted to be. So but all of that, when I look back, all of those experiences contributed to it, even though I didn't like the work I did or the jobs I really had, like not necessarily exactly what I wanted to do, but they all contributed to where I ended up. So it's just trusting that process. It can take you where you need to go, as long as you have your focus there.
I think if people can learn to see in their minds, to focus on that which they wish to happen, they can actually bring that to fruition. If they live in the thought, I can't do it, this will never happen, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So believe in yourself, believe you can do it, and believe it will happen, and allow that energy to come back to you.
Believe in yourself. Whatever season you're going through at the moment, this too shall pass. If it's a good season, this too shall pass. If it's a crappy season, this too shall pass. Always remember that there are two sides to the coin, and it's actually okay. And when we learn to recognize that, when we're in the darkness, we know the light is coming, and we're in the light, we know that there may be some challenges coming. So this too shall pass. Believe it, understand it, and just stay in the game.
I would just say be brave. Be brave and be bold, and remember that everything that is good in your life, and I can say this because I'm looking back, comes because of stepping outside of the most comfortable parts of your life. And just be brave. Be brave sooner. Be brave more often. And that's what I would say to her, because I would want to just empower. I look back at that little girl that was so scared. I was scared to smile in my kindergarten school picture because I hadn't had braces yet, didn't have my straight teeth, and wanted to be invisible, wanted to just kind of not really be seen, was super, super painfully shy. And it took years. And again, I'm grateful for the journey, but I would just say to her, be brave and step out in faith. God's got big plans for you that's going to change so many lives, and just be brave.
I think it would be listen to my mentors. I feel like, as I look back, I've had the opportunity to be around so many great people. I mean, just brilliant, talented leaders, both in the field and the corporate side. And I feel like as a younger me, I did spend a lot of time wanting to make myself add value and wanting to say, I have something important to say, or I not necessarily look at me, but I wanted to feel like I deserve to be in the circle. And so instead of just being, and just being still and absorbing and soaking in the wisdom that was all around me on all sides. I was too much in my own head sometimes and just thinking about what is it that I'm going to say now that will sound brilliant or amazing or wonderful, when really I should have just been in the moment. And I wish I would have done that more, especially now that some of those people have passed on or aren't here anymore. You know, the Bob Proctors of the world. And, you know, just a lot of people, I wish I would have been more of a listener and less of a worry about contributing quite so much.
You know, there's a lot of things that I could say, but be more confident in who you are and what your message is, and just hold fast to that. We can waver in our faith in ourselves and our confidence because of maybe what other people say or think, or we just, we have a hard time getting past, you know, some old tapes that are playing in our heads from maybe years ago, or someone who was of influence, you know, in your life that you have a hard time getting past. And I just encourage other people to let that go and kind of rewrite this.
Play the long game. Today seems so enormous, but don't hold on so tight, because you're going to play the long game. It's going, whatever the situation, it will smooth out. The river's going to run. That stone will get smoother. Just keep going. I got so tripped up, and there's probably about 3 massive, huge, craggly rocks in my past that I got so tripped up on that I lost sleep over. I lost, you know, friends over. I lost a lot of angst over that. If I could go back and tell myself that I've got to think the long game, and it's going to smooth out. It's painful today, but it's going to keep flowing. And, you know, if I could have told myself to project a little bit further into the future, that it's going to be okay, that's probably would have been my best advice. And I tell myself that now because I can see back now, you know, when you're older and wiser. But yeah, those 3 big things in my life were really rough. And who knows, I may have 3 more coming up, but hopefully I'll travel those waters a little bit smoother than I did the first time.
Be more courageous. I am by nature a quiet and shy person. And I think that if I could change my nature, then and apply and just somehow have adopted more courage within my person, I think we could have helped more people faster. I think we could have reached more countries sooner. But, you know, trying to change something like that is very difficult. And, you know, it's one of those things, had I only known sooner.
It's not about you. You know, we're not doing things because we don't feel comfortable. We don't feel it suits us. We don't feel confident doing it. We don't feel, no, do you know what? We're an introvert. We're left-handed. We're, you know, came from this area. We're a different color. We're a different nationality. We have a different accent. I don't care. Just get out and deliver what you need to deliver. These problems are not as big a barrier as you think. It's not about you. It's about the message you need to give.
You'll often see people really stop. And if you're watching the videos and the podcast, in that moment, you'll see people going inwards. They really do often go inwards. And you know that they've really done that when you start to see them get emotional. It's not uncommon at that point that we might get a tear or two, or they do get highly emotional, because that's the moment where they really stop and think about, you know, where they are now versus where they came from. And you see the love for the person that they were back then. You know, we all can probably resonate with that if you were to go back and, you know, show some grace to past you or teach a lesson to past you, what would that be? And so, you know, for me, I love that question so much because it's where someone gets a chance to really share probably their key life lesson, to be perfectly honest. It is that moment where they can share with you the one main thing that they have learned in life that they would tell themselves if they could. So you know that you're getting a golden nugget in that very moment, because if it's something they would tell themselves, it's something they're telling you as well. So when I ask that question moving forward of my guests, really stop and listen, because this is a key lesson they've learned. My answer to that question, and there are so many things that went through my mind here, but the one that really stuck with me the most, if I could go back and I could speak to past Sam, there are several moments in my life where I wish I could go back and do this. And one of them is when I became a parent for the first time. But actually, I think I'd go right back to childhood here, and I would say, I want you to remember this all throughout your life, from when you get married to when you get divorced, to when you have kids, to the hard times as well as the good times, to when you get your first job, to when you get your dream job, to when you start your business. Everything that you experience in life, I want you to remember this: savor the moment, because time goes so quickly and experiences go by so fast. And there are times in our life where we wish them away, whether we're sick or unwell, or we're going through an experience where a loved one is unwell, or, even in my case, going through a divorce, going through, the loss of babies, all of those things we kind of wish away. We're like, I want this to be gone and I want to get on with the next thing. But if I could go back in time and re-experience any of those things that have changed the life I have today, that have forged who I am today, I would go back and re-experience those things so I could be in those moments, because good or bad, you never get them back, but they do form who you are and who you get to become. When we have our kids, if you're a parent, you're listening to this, you'll understand this so fully, that when we have our kids, we go through tough times, newborns screaming, kids sick and unable to do anything about that. Those are the moments where you kind of wish them away. I just want them to be well again, or I just want them to stop crying, or I want to get through this phase and move on to an easier one. By the way, I probably tell myself as well, don't think your kids get easier when they get older, because they don't. True story. We all know that's true if we've got older kids. But savor the moment, because if I could go back and I could experience that moment where Levi was a little baby and he was really unwell, even though it's not a time that you want to wish on your kids, it's still a moment in time that you want to be present with. And if I could have him in my arms and snuggling with him again just for a moment and remembering that time, not just the time we're in now where he's 13 years old and, time has passed so quickly, I would take any of those moments. All of them are precious. All of them are special. So savor the good things, but also savor the challenging times as well. Every moment, just stop and enjoy it. Enjoy is probably the wrong word, but just be present with it for what it is. If it's emotional, if it's scary, if it's fear-filled, if it's challenging, whatever that is, acknowledge what it is and be present with it. That would be my piece of advice to myself. So if you're going through something right now, I'm going to give you that advice. Be present with what you're going through. Just savor it, because it's forming and forging the person you're going to become. And in a year or 2 years or 10 years' time, you're going to look back on this moment, this time you're going through, and you're going to think, I wish I could remember the details of what happened. I can see now why that had to happen, or I can see now why that exciting thing happened. But I really wish I could go back and experience every moment again so I could really savor what happened and that time I went through in order to become who I am today. A weird thing to say, I suppose, when you're thinking about things as negatives sometimes, but definitely something I would go back and say to my past self. I want to thank you as well for tuning into this podcast. It's a real honor and a privilege to be able to serve in this way, to be able to connect with people all over the globe and help them grow not just their business, but grow who they are. And my mission and my passion is helping you be the best version of yourself, believe fully in your worth and your capabilities to be able to become the person you were put here to be and live the life that you were put here to live. So thank you for tuning in and listening into this podcast and being a part of it. Help us spread it to more people. Share it with a few people that you think might benefit from hearing the messages on here. And don't forget, if you haven't done it before, to hit that subscribe button on whatever channel you're listening to it on or watching this on, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, one of the podcast channels, or even just on social media. But that's it from me today. This was a quick, easy episode, bit of fun, something a little bit different. Look forward to seeing you on here again next week. That's it from me. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.